Welcome back to another Film Geek movie review. In just a moment, I'm gonna walk my happy butt over to the futon to check out the new horror film, Pig Hill. Pig Hill is directed by Kevin Lewis, and you might know that name if you're a fan of Willy's Wonderland. He directed that movie also. It's starring Shane West, Rainey Qualley, and Shiloh Fernandez. It tells the story of a woman who becomes obsessed with this local legend about these pig people that live on Pig Hill. And as more women start to disappear in her local community, she starts to find some pieces that fit together that might blame these pig people. This movie looks like it is going to be downright gory from what I saw from the trailer, and the film does boast that. This movie just had its world premiere last weekend at Fright Fest in the UK on August 23rd. So there was a bit of an embargo, so I waited a little bit to put this movie up. As of right now, I am not 100% sure if this film has a distributor, if it's coming to VOD, Shudder, theaters, what have you, direct to DVD, Blu-ray, whatever. I have no idea at this time because it was just premiered. So, you know what? We're going to go head on over there to the futon because, of course, my faithful movie companion Haku is waiting on me, and we're gonna go check out Pig Hill. Just getting done watching Pig Hill, and guys, I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a lot of fun, but I don't think this is a film that's going to necessarily have mass appeal, but I do believe that this movie could easily become a cult classic. So let's get this started, shall we? We're going to get things started with negatives, then move into the positives, then end the video on the ever so important high note. If you are someone that does not like a campy B-movie horror film that's, very gory, you're probably not going to find a lot for you in this movie. If you need to have a very more serious toned kind of horror film, this is not going to probably be for you. Now, I honestly feel like this movie is doing this on purpose. I think this film is made to be a campy B horror movie with the dialogue and the acting and all. And the reason I feel that is because, first off, with the acting, I've seen a lot of these actors that are in this film in a lot of other things, and they deliver good performances. And it's not that their performances are bad in this movie, they're just very specific to this type of horror film. It's the B genre horror movie, the midnight monster classic, that kind of movie. And I do feel that this movie was made that way. It reminds me of a film that came out a while back called Malignant. That was the one where the woman thought she had a tumor or something, and it ended up being her twin, and they would go on a killing spree and all. A lot of people thought, whoa, this movie is insanely cheesy and silly, but yet it's trying to take itself so seriously, and it was a big turnoff. But then some horror fans looked at it and went, no, this is how the movie's supposed to be made. It is supposed to be campy and silly and also take itself seriously because it's trying to be one of those B-camp films. And I do feel like to certain levels, this movie is definitely trying to be that. At least I felt that way through the first and second act of this movie. Then when you get to the third act of this film, when all of a sudden things are being revealed, it really goes into a very dark and somewhat touchy area. And it was kind of a big tonal shift in my mind. All of a sudden it seemed like things that were somewhat more lighthearted and fun turned into a much darker and serious tone. And then the movie itself also feels like now we're getting more into a serious horror film, and it is a bit jarring to be perfectly honest, where you're going from something with a very kind of campy dialogue with the same with the kind of line delivery and all, which is kind of fun and B horror movie and all, and then boom, in the third act things really take a shift in tone and really go into a very, very dark area, and it's like, oh yeah, that's right, this is a horror film. So yes, the movie is kind of tonal all over the place in some areas of the movie, but in some aspects of the film, especially with the dialogue, the way the movie is presented and all, I feel like this was done on purpose to present this movie in a very 80s B movie a monster flick, horror flick kind of thing. And it does do a really good job of developing it that way. The story itself is actually quite entertaining. Let's just go ahead and get into the positives, because to be perfectly honest, guys, the thing that I think that people will be turned off with this film the most is that first and second act and how everything is presented very campy, not necessarily lighthearted, but again, if you know the types of horror movies that I'm talking about, those midnight movies that used to come on, the reason why I don't feel this movie is necessarily one of those movies I'll get to in the positives, and that has a lot to do with just the production value of this film. But yeah, I think that if you're not a fan of those types of films, you're not probably going to find a lot in this movie. But then when you get to the third act, things turn into a completely almost different movie. And I personally enjoyed the tonal shift, because it did kind of like jar me back into existence of going, oh yeah, this is a horror movie. So anyways, let's get into those positives, shall we? The first thing I want to talk about is just the production value of this film. It really does look really, really good. There's some great use of the camera in this film, and all in all, the movie itself is presented in a really great way. Technically speaking, this movie looks really good, and that's why I feel the more, I don't want to say schlocky, because this movie does not look cheap whatsoever, but the more campy aspects of this film, I do feel like that was on purpose, because the production value of this film was outstanding. The special effects are really on point. A lot of the very brutal kill scenes that are in this look outstanding. There is some moments with the makeup that doesn't look necessarily great, but again, this movie has some reveals and all moving down the line. This is a fairly gory film. I thought it was going to be much, much gorier going into this movie, with movies like, In a Violent Nature and all, setting a bar for violence. This movie doesn't necessarily hit those levels, but there are some really ridiculously brutal kills in this, and some great practical effects done all around. So all in all, guys, the technical aspects of this movie really look on point, and there was some extremely well-crafted scenes. Some absolutely amazing uses of lighting also. There was one scene in particular, and this was the shot that I honestly made me realize that I do feel like this campy vibe of what is going on with this film was on purpose, because there was this one scene, and it was amazing how it was crafted. I really loved it. They're walking down like this dirt road, and the car is behind them with just the lights on. And rather than setting up lights and everything, all the director uses in that is the lights from the car, and then whatever natural light is surrounding them at night. And it just made this extremely cool, creepy looking shot. And I'm like, you know what? I see what's going on here. Okay, this movie is supposed to be like this. At least that's my interpretation. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong that we're supposed to take every aspect of this movie very, very seriously, but I really just don't feel that way. I really think that this was crafted in such a way. I mean, this is from the director of Willy's Wonderland, and I feel like that movie is also kind of the same way. There's a lot of crazy, ridiculous things that are going on with a very serious tone attached to it that does, again, make it come off as one of those B-movie horror or midnight movie horror films. This movie, again, for those first two acts, has that exact same vibe, and I absolutely love the way that this film was presented. I thought it looked great. This film also, for a low-budget independent film, it does have a score. Normally, that's something that just ends up being like unlicensed music or something like that, but no, there is an actual score backing this movie, and there are original songs throughout the film too, and I think that also really adds to the production value of this movie. And again, one of the reasons why I don't feel that campiness was necessarily something that was an accident. Let's just put it that way. I still feel the film was designed to be that way. So guys, I do not know when this film is coming out. In all honesty, I think that this movie would be perfect for a streaming service like Shudder or something of that, maybe another horror movie, maybe Tubi TV, Tubi, Pluto, whatever. But yeah, I do feel that this movie would find a really great home on a streaming service. I don't necessarily think that this film would have a mass appeal for in theaters, but I do feel like this is a film that's going to find itself one day in what we like to call the cult classics. Alright guys, well that's all I have for you today. Thanks again for checking out the Film Geek. If you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and give me the old thumbs up so I know you like what you're seeing. And if there's one more thing you can do, folks, that is keep watching movies You know I'm gonna.